All right, well, let's get into it tonight. We have a little bit of homework to do. Now, D&D time, just prior to me going on, actually did a really good sort of flyover of this content. And the boys over there, they had some really good observations. And I would urge you all to head over to, it's the three letters. Letter D, the letter N, the letter D, time. Twitch.tv/D&D time. And give their episode a watch because they delved into some very interesting concepts. And the way that it was presented was very energetic, and hopefully it got you thinking about ways that you can apply the concepts that they were talking about. Hey, Zuler Pie, welcome. Great to see ya. Now, what we're going to be doing here, I won't be stepping on their toes necessarily. I want to approach this from a workshop point of view where we're going to be delving into backgrounds for part one tonight of our workshop. And you know that I love work. If you've been around for any character creation streams, you know that I love backgrounds. And they are the bread and butter of your 5th edition D&D character. And so I highly recommend that you delve into this sort of content, especially because it will help immerse you, no pun intended, since we're talking about an aquatic environment. It will help immerse you into the world and have your character come to life. Now, for tonight, and really for the next few nights, there's a couple things that we can go back and forth and reference. First up, I mean, we have the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, all right? And so this is one way that we can approach this. If we want to take an alternate route, there are a couple other things that we're going to be referencing. The Player's Handbook, for certain reasons. Those reasons are now highlighted in blue. The Dungeon Master's Guide, because this is content that is brought up and is a good prompt to get you thinking, though Saltmarsh is going to take this to a nice, the next level. And if we need to, we'll have the Monster Manual open. Now, I have absolutely no idea why we're open to the Gale of Dur. That's just, who would have an entry to the Monster Manual open to the Gale of Dur just randomly? Let me make sure none of my Tuesday players are watching. No, I think I'm safe. All right, no one tell my Tuesday players. But I have the Monster Manual open in case we do need to reference a couple things. As well, we're not... I don't want to dwell on the Unearthed Arcana, but this was showing a little bit of ankle for running a sea-based, a ship-based, a coastal-based environment. And so I have this open in another window because if we do want to see, has anything been changed, or, this is... The Unearthed Arcana is available for free, and if Ghosts of Saltmarsh is not within... you got to save up, right? You got to budget for it. Some people do. Then Unearthed Arcana will have a lot of good content in it you could still run. And I don't think there's too many differences. For the most part, this is going to be a blind peek at the Ghost of Saltmarsh. And I would like to point out as well that I do have a physical copy of that here with me. However, this is, reading a book on stream isn't necessarily going to be as engaging as having an electronic format. So while you do see electronic formats, and I do want to bring up that anytime you see content on the screen that's a book, I have the physical copies of it. I sell the physical copies to people. In addition to encouraging them to learn how to play and to teach others. Not that I've been accused of anything, but, a little CYA never hurts. Speaking of shameless plugs, I'm doing an updated background setup incorporating both Maddie's system and Xanathar's Guide to Everything. This is your life. Oh yes, yeah, I saw that you got your, you ended up getting your RAM in for your laptop, and hopefully you'll have a good time or a better time of being able to broadcast that, Bubonic. Lazy Monkey, you are absolutely correct. And hey, Volvo, speaking of shenanigans that happened on Tuesday, a good third of that of the shenaniganery that ensued is due to Volvo. And so if you all had a fun time watching last night's D&D session, please thank him. What, do you think I was going to deliver you a fun time? I'm the Dungeon Master. I'm supposed to make this painful and a chore. Hey, GM Vault. And thank you for the host also, Volvo. For all of you who lurk, who say howdy, for any of you who host or raid, for those of you who follow, subscribe, gift subscriptions, or those of you who sponsor boxes of minis, you know that you have my deep felt thank you for being a part of the channel and the community that we're building here on Twitch. And Steel Dust is lurking again. Oh, this is 2 nights in a row. You're going to spoil me, Steel Dust. It's good to see you back. Daly's here too, Jello. So we have a couple ways to access the info here. There is a very lovely Beyond version. And in case, if for some reason some of this wasn't necessarily tickling your fancies, and you say, but wait, what about the backgrounds? Then we can get into this stuff. Now this is ship stats and such. But this has a lot of, there's a lot of the illustrations and things in it. My problem with watching the stream is it makes me crave D&D, and my group split up. And so it's an itch you can't reach. Oh, Steel Dust. Well, you're always welcome to put an ad in our LFG section on our Discord, Steel Dust. I'm sorry you don't get the chance to play as often as you'd like to otherwise. Ah, that's great, Bubonic. The bees, well, yes. So V-Bunny got the whole thing rolling with bees. And after that, just things continued. And we're getting very interesting. Blargle, no, we are not very far into it. I was giving the intro. I was telling y'all these are the books you're going to need for. I was giving you the syllabus. This is what we're studying. These are the materials you're going to need. Here's everything that we're going to be looking through. I skipped out of my local store group's D&D game today because wanted to make sure I'm 100% recovered from being sick, and even though I'm better today, my voice is shot. Well, and plus, if you are sick, Hark, it is just, I think everyone at the table will understand and give you a pass because no one wants to get whatever germs you might have too. Remember when we're all, yikes, a bee, run. Now we're all, hey little fella, anything I can do for you? Need some more flowers, a pillow? Need to borrow the car? Well, yes, as we understand more and more that bees are very important. I mean, they could even be important to the plot of X-Files, let alone real life. Being the one to bring the plague to the table is not a way for popularity. That is sure. Yes. And if for all of you who've been playing for a while, you know it's happened at some point. You know, someone comes onto the table, kind of. I'm sorry I'm late. I was taking a nap, and I'm feeling a little under the weather, and everyone kind of. You're what? No. I feel fine. Let's let's play. Oh, can I borrow your dice? Oh, and can I touch your book? And oops! Oh my gosh, my hand is just suddenly, I went to go grab my mini, and I just sort of fell forward and just, rubbed germs all over you. You know how that happens. And you've been the one to do it. Live and learn. Yes, lazy. Live in the dream. Oh no, lazy's coughing in chat, everyone. But yes, it does happen, and so discretion is going to be the better part of valor in that regard. All right, pardon me. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-dee. Hey, there we go. Saltmarsh backgrounds. Diadems, yes I did. My ears lowered, my cheeks raised. Definitely not, it's not super smooth. I could probably go up to the microphone and you'd get kind of a scratchy. But I am rather freshly tended to. At least the germs are on the opposite side of the monitor. Yes. Oh, Diadems is free M&Ms now? That's great. When we were younger, we didn't care if we did that stuff, but nowadays, if anyone did that stuff, I'd tell them to bug off. Says Bubonic One, waving his cane. You're tired? Well, Diadems, even if you're just stopping by to say hi, thank you for doing so, and if you got to go to sleep or do whatever you got to do, then you're welcome to go about it. Game Master's Vault says he's retired, which means he had a nap earlier today, and that's just not cutting it anymore. Yep. I'm a step ahead of you, GM Vault. All right, well, let's discuss some backgrounds, because we aren't just getting 4 new backgrounds for Saltmarsh. Nay. We are also getting a spice or a salt that is going to influence the 13 other backgrounds in the player's handbook. And if you recall from our coverage of Eberron did the same thing, where they will give you Eberron takes on the backgrounds. And in its own way, the Sword Coast Adventures Guide offers new backgrounds, but they also rely on the old backgrounds for some content. So it's kind of, a half a new background. Let's take a look. Remember, this is a first blush for me here. I have not gone ahead and read, because I want to have a conversation with you, and I also want the ideas to flow. This is a great chance for us to sit back and examine, what do we notice first? What is foremost? What is shiny? What seems to make sense? What is abso-flippin'-lutely just ludicrous? 2 out of 10. I will literally never play this game again. Yes, the spice must flow. We're getting the chant up, everyone. Everyone, the spice must flow. D&D is still for nerds, Maddie. It is, and it always will be. Though I think we're finding either more and more that there are more not nerds that are playing, or they are nerd potentiates as they dip their toe into the waters of D&D. They suddenly realize, wow, I enjoy this, I like this. And lo and behold, I'm a storyteller this whole time. and this is fun, and I don't feel as ostracized for playing as I might have in other pop culture environments. Good evening. This is Mall Chucker Maps, as in you toss large hammers. Mall Chucker Maps. Good evening, and Third Shifter Life over here. You are in a good crowd. There are others who are working such a shift. And would you like me to call you like MC or just Mall or MCM? All right, so you throw hammers and you draw maps. That is a good combo. That's something that I would expect to find in a background. And who knows, we may just do that. But welcome. Thank you for finding our workshop, Mall Chucker. MCM is cool, or McM. Oh, and hey, thank you for the follow as well. The notification will pop up here in a second. All right. Part of the fun of a Saltmarsh campagne lies in playing characters who have ties to the town and the area around it. Hey, there it is. This section presents new backgrounds suitable for creating such characters, along with notes on adapting characters who have backgrounds drawn from the player's handbook. This material is meant to be a tool for DMs. Once players have decided on their characters' backgrounds, review the material here and decide which additional elements of their backgrounds you want to share with them. A connection to a Saltmarsh NPC or a clue to the Scarlet Brotherhood's presence is provided for each of the backgrounds in the player's handbook. For the new backgrounds described in full here, this information is presented in the Saltmarsh Ties section of each entry. I just started reading it right on screen. MCM, this is. Oh snap! Oh sheeps, you are upgraded now to a nice queso. Kind of a low medium spice queso. But oh well, look at that in a beautiful Welsh accent at that. So yeah, MCM, this is my first look at it. I have not pried into it because I want to pop it open with you all. Let's have a conversation and discover what stands out first. Oh, you're going to get your next bowl this week, says GM Volt. Ah, very good. I would like to point out, if any of you are first-timer Dungeon Masters, and, ooh, pardon me, and you are worried that your players are going to turn into lol random murder hobos, right? They just not really engaged. They'll kill anyone. It's all about the loot. When even as a new DM, you're trying to run a game and to you have this idea of I'm gonna play this really cool plot twist on them, and I want them to be endeared to this character, and the character dies, and so it's kind of heart-wrenching, but later on the character's going to come back, and your players are just, so who's in the next town? Okay, so I need 100 gold for my +1 sword. Okay, who do I kill? What do I kill? Is there a goblin den? Can I just kill a bunch of goblins? Incorporating some kind of a tie-in from your character into the game is very, very important. And that is one of the aspects about backgrounds that I absolutely love in 5th edition. Because it puts you mechanically through crunch, or story-wise through what we call fluff. It puts you in the story. You are invested in the world somehow. If only lightly, you're still there. You belong to a group. There's an ideal that you hold that you want to impose on your city or the world. You're drawn in, and not only that, you also have the power to affect the world in which you live. And after all, that's one of the reasons why we end up playing Dungeons and Dragons, is that kind of empowerment or that kind of ability to leave a lasting impression on others, even if it is in the confines of a fantasy story. And I don't say that to diminish anyone's stories, because we recall them so vividly years later, as if we were there in the trenches, even though the trenches were all, in our imaginations. This is bringing back a lot of good memories. So Maul or MCM, you were playing Saltmarsh when it was first printed, like the Greyhawk, the old Greyhawk version. GM Vault says, I'm too scared to be a GM. That's... your CPU has been running at 100% consistently no matter what I'm running for 3 weeks or so. So I bought a new one, and as soon as it ships, my CPU right now drops to below 40. I hope it's still going to be a good upgrade. Maybe you can turn it around and get a little money back on it. The players all want to gang up and kill all the cool monsters and villains that I make. Yeah, well, did you tell them no bully, please? GM Vault, you haven't played as a player in years. Oh, I hope you get that opportunity. It is what we call the DM curse. It's been 8 years for you, Maul? Oh, goodness. In 3.5, but you've played TUE Saltmarsh Adventures, and it was a blast. Well, I'm glad this is reminiscent for you. And hey, if you have certain memories that you want to bring up and say, oh, it's this. We're not going to go into the adventure, so there's not going to be spoilers, as I want to focus on the crunch that is contained in this book. Because it's not just a rule book. There are several adventures, and there's some extra content in here, and I love the way that it is all bundled together, as has been happening in many books in 5th edition. It is common, O'Sheeps. Yes, you can play D&D in so many ways. And I'm glad that we were able to expand your horizons, O'Sheeps. I've not played or ran a game in years, but my schedule is too inconsistent and other issues. One of these days, I'll get back to a table. No, murder hoboing can be fun, as long as that's what everyone at the table wants to do, and the DM is on board as well. Then it's absolutely a blast. I do hope you get the ability to. Look, consistency is the last boss of D&D. For as much as you're like, oh, Vecna or Orcus or the Evil King or a corrupted priest or, it was the Elven Maiden the whole time. Who would have suspected? Consistency is always the last boss of D&D. Oh, so, the origin of your name then, it seems. All right, what does the Acolyte have for us here? And for this part, here's the intro. We can bring this back up. What I would like to do is to pop over to the player's handbook. Now, Chapter 5 is where we can start comparing some things about the ships. However, Chapter 4 gets into backgrounds. And so we can compare apples and oranges and hopefully avoid scurvy either way. A character with this background might be a follower of Procan, or Procan, or a missionary of some other god sent to establish a new temple in town. Saltmarsh has never been an overly religious place, but its prospects for growth make it an ideal target for expansion. If you're a follower of Procan, your Shelter of the Faithful feature applies to the Temple of Procan in Saltmarsh. Welgar Brinehanded is your friend and mentor. He expects you to represent the temple in all that you do. You can be a missionary. If you revere a different deity, You own a small building in Saltmarsh and have been charged by the elders of your faith with establishing a shrine here. You live in the building and have a staff of 1d4 locals who have already been recruited to your faith. Your Shelter of the Faithful feature applies to a temple located in Seaton, the provincial capital east of Saltmarsh. The generic acolyte here is presuming that, you know, you're already in an established religion. You shouldn't really have too much trouble finding finding the things that you're looking for, because there are presumptions that are baked into the set of rules here. So specifically, if you're going to play in this campaign environment, this is how you can introduce your acolyte from generic acolyte into one who is more specifically belonging to this region or wants to belong by converting folks, or just teaching them a different way, or bringing them inspiration or aid. There's a lot that can be done. All right, next up is Charlatan. As Saltmarsh grows more prosperous, it becomes a more attractive place for grifters such as yourself. If you want to do business in town, you're going to cross tracks with Winston, the eponymous owner of Winston's store. The halfling merchant is always looking for new wares to add to his offerings. He knows the people of Saltmarsh well and gives you advice on how to walk the line between making a profit and angering the locals. And so here, you know, we have generic charlatan. You know, you have your scams and such. This is giving you come on. I'm gonna have to find a way to delete that now. Anyway, this is giving you a way to hook yourself into being a charlatan in Saltmarsh, especially. The Nordic Geek, welcome, and yes, you tell him, Bubonic. Bubonic has you beat for sure. Well, then here I am as a wee little babby. I've only been playing since 2000. Hello, orcs. Welcome, welcome. Ah, yes. Orcs, I was going to ask if you had received your zombie beholder from when you sponsored a box a while ago. And did it arrive in good shape? Yes, sir. Excellent. 5 stars Yelp. Okay, very good. Then cheers to you, orcs. If you're a criminal, Saltmarsh might be a sleepy town, but many see it as an ideal place to enter Kaeland without drawing notice. As a criminal in town, you are likely involved in smuggling and have done business with Kreb Schenker at the Empty Net. He hires crews to manage pickups on the coast for the smuggling kingpins in town. Nice and simple, it gets you in the good graces of an established NPC. Or at least, you know, a neutral beginning, and you could work your own graces, good or otherwise. It's a great attachment, and I like what they're doing with this. Entertainer. Bards and performers are always in demand in Saltmarsh. You can use your by popular demand feature to find work at the Wicker Goat or the Snapping Line. The Wicker Goat is popular with the town guard and the dwarves who work the mine outside town, while the Snapping Line is frequented by fishers, sailors, and laborers who work the docks. Choose one of those taverns as your preferred venue. The staff, owner, and regulars there treat you as a friend. Excellent. More immersion. We are not making characters this session, Orcs. We are exploring the book that recently came out, The Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and the content in it that you can incorporate into your own games. All right, here's a new one. Here's the Fisher. Let me make this one a little bit bigger then. You have spent your life aboard fishing vessels or combing the shallows for the bounty of the ocean. Perhaps you were born into a family of fisherfolk, working with your kin to feed your village. Maybe the job was a means to an end, a way out of an undesirable circumstance that forced you to take up life aboard a ship. Regardless of how you began... Oh, pardon me. Sorry about that, everyone. You soon fell in love with the sea, the art of fishing, and the promise of the eternal horizon. You are going to get history and survival, and both of these make sense. Well, I mean, so here's the nice shortcut about that. And why would a fisher have a proficiency in history? Can we think about it? We'll get a language of our choice. So we'll get some equipment, fishing tackle, a net, a favorite fishing lure, or oiled leather wading boots, a set of traveler's clothes, and a belt pouch containing 10 gold. Yes, nuclear fishing vessels. Many books in 5th edition D&D Orcs contain both fluff and crunch. They have stories, so Saltmarsh has several little adventures you can run, or you can string them all together for a grand adventure. It also has rules that are incorporated into it to really get you in the mood for the stories, but they can also be taken as their own thing off to the side. Yeah, so actually Quinn from Jaws, excellent example on why a fisher would have history. Alright, so your background feature is Harvest the Water. You gain advantage on ability checks made using fishing tackle. If you have access to a body of water that sustains marine life, you can maintain a moderate lifestyle while working as a fisher, and you can catch enough food to feed yourself and up to 10 other people each day. That's pretty good. Your fishing tale. You can tell a compelling tale, whether tall or true, to impress and entertain others. Once a day, you can tell your story to willing listeners. At the DM's discretion, a number of those listeners become friendly toward you. This is not a magical effect. Oh, pardon me. It's been a day. Sorry, everyone. And continued amicability on their part depends on your actions. You can roll on the following table to help determine the theme of your tale, or choose one that best fits your character. Alternatively, work with your DM to create your own fishing tale. And so here, I mean, if we were to roll, I'll do one kind of random here. 1d8. And so our sample fisher has a tale of number 4, a ghost fish. You are haunted by a ghostly fish that only you can see. MCM says it has a lot of old school 2E mini dungeons revamped for 5E. They were a blast to play. I'm hoping they're all fun to play again. I'm actually going to run the adventure for your sons and your wife at home. We're starting Sunday. Oh, MCM, that is awesome that you are a DM dad. That's really cool. When I see folks doing that in the store, you know, whether they're playing Magic with their kids, or they're teaching Dungeons and Dragons or the like, it's inspirational, and it really just makes my heart melt, because this is the kind of stuff that I love friends and family doing. Too much mead? I wish it was mead induced. Don't listen to old Carl. There's no fish. He just has the scurvy. The ghost of the one that got away. Or the fisherman's a drunken fool. Our suggested characteristics. I'm not going to go over all of them, so I'll just randomly roll, and we'll find out. Some aspects, but we will build characters using. We'll build 4 characters using the backgrounds that are featured in here, and we could do that later in this week. So our sample fisher that is haunted by a ghostly fish. One of its 2 personality traits will be: my friends or my crew, we sink or float together. And then the fisher ideals. I'm just going to do a 4d6 roll, and then we'll just ignore the last one there. So we ended up getting a 2, a 3, and a 4. The ideal for this fisher is luck. Our luck depends on respecting its rules. Now throw this salt over your shoulder. Our bond is number 3. I will fish the many famous waters of this land. And our flaw, because all of us are flawed creatures, is number 4. I am inclined to tell long-winded stories at inopportune times. If you're going to play this character and you take this as your flaw, it would be excellent to keep a notebook handy with a couple random prompts and just trust yourself to tell a tale. They're obsessed with D&D, and I love it. That's awesome, MCM. I'm glad that they really enjoy it and that you're stepping up and teaching them how to play. If you get into the game where you start at this level 2 and you have the option to dual class, which class would you roll the background for? Because a fighter bard would have different versions of history. Just think about it in order, orcs. Your character, you may be generating a character and peeking in at that character's life at level 2, with it having one level in something and another level in something else. But this character has lived the life to a certain point. And it's not that, a fighter couldn't also train as a thief, as a rogue in this case, and you could explain it that way, but really just put it in order of, here's my race, right? You're born into whatever. I have aspirations to go, into a certain life, so this would be your background. This is your first job. This is a hobby. This is whatever it is to you. And through that training or experience or knowledge or whatever, that then opens up your first class. And once your first class opens, then that perhaps continues to teach you to refine your body or your techniques. And that then will open up your second class if you want to multi-class that early. So don't think of your background your background's not for your class. Your background is for your character, and your character is made up of your race, your class, and your background. Yeah, GM Vault, inopportune time on a first date. Let me tell you about the time I got a rash from sleeping with a mermaid. Your Saltmarsh tie, Edda Oland, and her family are the informal leaders of the fishing industry in Saltmarsh. You can always count on the Olins for minor aid and can gain access to Edda if the need is obvious and imminent. All right, so now we're going back to Folk Hero. Dun, 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 criminal, entertainer, and folk hero. We're over on page 131 of the player's handbook if you're keeping the sources out together. Saltmarsh has long relied on its local people to rise up and deal with threats to the village. Only recently has the king taken more than a passing notice of the area. You are beloved by the local sailors and fishers for your heroics, though the newcomers to the region, primarily members of the town guard and dwarves working the mine, know little about you. Create an event that prompted your rise to heroic status, or use the table below to tie your background to events in Saltmarsh. Use this table in place of the defining event table in the player's handbook. Pardon me. So, instead of one of these 10 defining events that are, rather broad, here are 10 more flavorful ones. Or, I'm sorry, not 10, 4. So let's roll 1d4, and our example folk hero is a folk hero because of number 2. A terrible accident. Oh, terrible. Terrible accident almost caused a fire that would have destroyed the docks if not for your heroics. You still bear a few scars from the incident and have yet to pay for a meal or drink in town since. Edda Oland, owner of several fishing boats in town, held a feast in your honor. Well, you just snapped those suspenders, because as a folk hero, you are set up in a way that it's not who you know, but who knows you. And a lot of people in town know you for what you did. Guild Artisan. Because of its size and focus on fishing, Saltmarsh has never had many artisans. If you have this background, you can choose one of the following options. The Mariners Guild. You work with the Mariners Guild, providing sailors with rope, sails, tools, and other goods. You have a workshop attached to the guild hall and can draw support from similar guilds found in ports across the world. You have done a lot of business with Edda Olin's family and are on good terms with her. Good way to start out an adventure, isn't it? There are also the Dwarven Artisans. You arrived in town as part of a mercantile concern associated with the Copperlocks Dwarves. Currently, the Dwarves rely on your guild to provide supplies for their work at the mine outside town. You are friends with several of the miners, have access to their work site, and are on good terms with the clan's leader, Manistrad. That it gets you into Saltmarsh, gives you excellent connections right out the bat. Not that you couldn't be a cartographer or a surveyor, not that you couldn't be a leather worker. There's plenty of opportunity for all of these to exist. But hey, work with your dungeon master. Make something that fits. Make something that it gives you it gives you not just a mechanical benefit because, oh, well, I know this person and, I can ask for or call in a favor. Do something that will immerse you and make you important. Do you own a business? Run a business. Make income off of it. Connections. And, put that towards whatever you're going to put it towards to, stabilize the region or whatever will compel your character. Now, if you're a hermit, on page 134 of the player's handbook, the wilds around Saltmarsh might seem like the ideal place to find peace and quiet, though the monsters that lurk in the region can make isolation a dangerous practice. If your character has this background, the table below gives you some options for the nature of the secret that prompted you to return to civilization. And this is going to be a part of your discovery. And hermits have an amazing background feature because it directly puts you into relevance in the story. You stumbled across a clandestine meeting outside town. A wealthy-looking fellow named Scarin met with someone and discussed bringing slaves to Saltmarsh. You suspect trouble's afoot and came to town to investigate. Actually, let's roll a d4, because I don't want to read every single little thing here. Shrek was a hermit. Yes, very much so. Stops on a 1, and hey, lo and behold, what a quinky dink, I just narrated that to you. Black Wolf, welcome. You have some blue raspberry and berry blast water flavoring today. Mixing them is really yummy and energizing. Now, here is the next custom background for Saltmarsh. You can be a Marine. So I'm going to bring this up here so we can read it a little bit more clearly. You were trained for battle on sandy beaches and rocky shores. You have launched midnight raids from swift ships whose names evoke terror in the hearts of your adversaries. The water is your second home, the rain your shelter, and the crashing waves your battle cry. You'll get athletics and survival, tool proficiencies, both vehicles, land and water, oh my. Equipment, a dagger that belonged to a fallen comrade, a folded flag emblazoned with the symbol of your ship or company, a set of traveler's clothes, and a belt pouch containing 10 gold. Excellent roleplay prompts. Because we can ask, is the dagger usable? Is it broken? Is the comrade still around? Or, is the comrade dead? Or if the comrade's still around, was it just you trade daggers before every mission as a way to sort of promise to each other that you'll come back? Or has it been 2 years and you did something similar, but so far your friend's not come back from the horizon? And then the folded flag emblazoned with the symbol of your ship or company. What does it look like and why? What was the name? Who are some of the people who worked aboard? Why are you no longer on it if you aren't any longer on it? Your feature is steady. You can move twice the normal amount of time each day before being subject to the effect of a forced march. Pardon me. Additionally, you can automatically find a safe route to land a boat on shore, provided such a route exists. Conditional? Yes. Very useful? Absolutely, when it's needed. Absolutely. You have encountered some kind of a hardship. Let's find out what our example Marine has gone through. 1d6. Stopped on a 1. We nearly drowned. You hid underwater to avoid detection by enemies and held your breath for an extremely long time. Just before you would have died, you had a revelation about your existence. What is that revelation? Did it make you more of a devout person? Or did it somehow actually shatter your faith? What do you find significance in the act itself? Or do you take a very, a scientific approach and just say, I was running out of air and I hallucinated a bunch of stuff? Plenty of excellent prompts for you. All right, MCM, do what you got to do. Because I have several other windows open and I don't want another one. So I'll just roll the couple things that I need in chat. So I'm gonna roll only one personality trait as we're making a mental example Marine character. But of course, when we actually roll our characters, and as Black Wolf was indicating, we'll go through the formal process. So this one nearly drowned. One of his or her personality traits is 5. I'm dependable. You can count on me to not die, apparently, and that's good in a soldier. And our ideal bond and flaw, 151. Our ideal is teamwork. Success depends on cooperation and communication. Our bond is 5. Fear leads to tyranny, and both must be eradicated. Ooh. And our flaw is number 1. I grow combative and unpredictable when I drink. Just on these rolls, have you already been able to imagine a character? Have you already been able to pull a silhouette from the mists, the ethereal mists, from which all characters come from? Are you getting an idea for how he or she acts or looks? Some of the things that this character would say, or how they would react in certain situations? Your ties. As a former member of Saltmarsh's elite marine contingent, you are friends of Tom and Will Stoutly and can turn to them for help and support. Eleander Fireborn, captain of the guard, also makes time to listen to your concerns. All right, let's pop over to Noble. The folk of Saltmarsh care little for nobles and their titles. Although the king technically rules the land, the south has long been left to its own devices. Are you a local noble turning to a life of adventure, or did you come here in search of fame and fortune? Regardless of your origin, your position of privilege feature allows you to request an audience with any official in town, including members of the town council. They typically take 1d6 plus 1 days to fulfill such a request. The table below includes suggestions for how you came to arrive in Saltmarsh. And so here's your origin. Again, as a noble, this is, even in the player's handbook, it's left rather open to your interpretation. What kind of a noble? Are we talking, Western European style? Are we talking like feudal Japan? What kind of an organization are we discussing? Are you noble because you're granted a title, or is it hereditary? That kind of a thing. So let's check out what our Saltmarsh noble has to say. And actually, you know what? We have a spare D6 from our prior roll. So let's just apply that to our origin as a Saltmarsh noble, which is number 3. Origin 3 states, your family owns a small manor outside of town. Your siblings are in line to inherit your family's land, leaving you with few prospects. Perhaps with several successful adventures under your belt, you can achieve fame in Saltmarsh. That's a good prompt. If that alone, doesn't spark you to adventure, I'm sure there's a lot of other aspects of this character that we could create. But even this alone is very evocative. Whoops. Outlander. Outlanders are a common sight in ports such as Saltmarsh. Even a small port attracts folks from across the world, though how they end up at a place like Saltmarsh varies greatly. The table below provides some ideas for how your character came to town. So here we have our origin as a forester, trapper, homesteader, etc. Instead, let's roll a d6 and find out what a Saltmarsh Outlander could have going for him or her. 2. You spent years shipwrecked on a deserted isle. Finally, you were recently picked up by a passing ship on its way to Saltmarsh. You were stranded after pirates attacked the ship. You were aboard and killed everyone else. You survived by leaping overboard and swimming for a few hours. You could take this prompt literally word by word. It's an excellent one. And if you decide not to, this is a very easy way for you to consider, okay, so these are kind of the circumstances that occurred that ended up getting me or bringing me to Saltmarsh. So how can I use this as a prompt or a springboard into a fuller idea? Now we have our sage. And so our origin as a sage will vary. And you know, we could still be an alchemist, or we could still be a researcher, just as we could be a bounty hunter that has this Saltmarsh origin to him or her. As an outlander, and we're on 136 of the player's handbook. Let's roll a d6 again. 1. Whoops. Oh, did I read the wrong thing? Oh, never mind. Sage is its own thing. I went back up and I was reading Outlander. Derp. All right, so as a sage, though Saltmarsh is by no means a center of learning, the lack of ongoing examination and investigation of its environs make it an ideal place to conduct research. The mystery of the Tower of Xenopus might also attract the attention of an academic. Consider the following options for your character. You could be a historical researcher or an arcane seeker. The graveyard keeper Crag and the captain of the guard Eleander are both experts in local history. You might have arrived in town to conduct research and have made their acquaintance. Eleander grants you access to his personal library and uses his considerable knowledge of languages to translate documents you find, while Crag works with you to catalog the library's contents. Oh, stretching my back. Sorry, everyone. If I've been kind of twisting and turning in my seat, today was a very busy day, and so if I appear a little lagging or just like I have to stretch out, it's because of that. And so I'm not trying to be rude or disinterested, because this is absolutely fascinating. But you know, if you're aching a bit, it's a little distracting. Anyway, Arcane Seeker. The wizard Keladek hired you to help him with a few of his projects. He was not a kind master, but he paid well enough. You helped him organize a set of ancient books, identify potions, and verify the authenticity of several alchemical recipes. He has since discharged you from his service. Keladek was always cool toward you, but he had some business dealings with the charismatic merchant Gellin Primewater. You have dined in Gellin's mansion a few times, and he has mentioned that he sometimes needs help identifying some of the odds and ends his crews bring back to port. Excellent. This makes you very much, it puts you right in the middle of a lot of things that are both above board and a little shady. As a sailor, I mean, you have the option of being a sailor or a pirate. And there is also the feature of bad reputation you could take instead of being able to get a ship's passage. Here, in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, you're getting a little bit more flavor. And let's take a look at it here. Countless sailors have walked the streets of Saltmarsh. If you select this background, decide whether you are a local who took to the seafaring life or a foreigner who arrived here from a distant port. If you're a local sea dog, as a sailor native to town, you know plenty of people down by the docks. You have friends in the Olin family who can get you access to Edda, a prominent local leader, as needed. You also have friends among the sailing crews and know the best and worst of the businesses that cater to them. That is going to be excellent knowledge. If you want to do espionage, you want to do any sort of blackmail. Honestly, you just want to find a good deal on something. You know, that's completely legal beagle. We don't even have to talk, intrigue or mystery. You just want to know where to get the best food or where to find the best rope. You could also be a traveler from afar. You are new in town and are unfamiliar to most locals. You know the ways of the sea, however, and you blend in at the docks with ease. You can mingle with foreign crews, learn news from them, and strike up easy friendships. Some of them have contacts with local smugglers, and you have heard that there are hidden sea caves outside of town where the wizard Keladek trades in arcane goods. Ooh. Yeah, you're getting there. You're not just, well, I'm a sailor. Derp, derp, derp. I'm just gonna, raise the sails and weigh the anchor. No, you know people. You communicate. You are a part of a bigger world. And I love that this kind of depth. All right, our third custom background, a shipwright. You have sailed into war on the decks of great ships, patching their hulls with soup bowls and prayers. You once helped build a fishing vessel that single-handedly saved a town from starvation. You have seen a majestic prow in your dreams that you have not been able to replicate in wood. Since childhood, you have loved the water and have been captivated by the many vessels that travel on it. You get history and perception as your skill proficiencies. Carpenter's tools and vehicles, water's tool. That makes sense. Equipment: a set of well-loved carpenter's tools, a blank book, 1 ounce of ink, an ink pen, a set of traveler's clothes that's probably kind of inky, and a leather pouch with 10 gold in it. Your feature is I'll patch it. Provided you have carpenter's tools and wood, you can perform repairs on a water vehicle. When you use this ability, you restore a number of hit points to the hull of a water vehicle equal to 5 times your proficiency modifier. A vehicle cannot be patched by you this way again until after it has been pulled ashore and fully repaired. So it's a one-shot feature, but it'll save everyone aboard. We have our life at sea. And so really what we can do is we'll do our 4d6 and then 1d8 to get a personality sample. So this is going to be our example shipwright. One, two, 1, 2. All right, grand designs. You are working on plans and schematics for a new, very fast ship. You must examine as many different kinds of vessels as possible to help ensure the success of your design. In that case, as the player, keep a little journal off to the side. Sketches, questions, maybe collect blueprints like wizards collect spells in their spell book. Our personality trait before we get back to our ideal bond and flaw is 1d8. You rolled a 2. I'm extremely fond of puzzles. Aha. What could that mean then? For the ships that you may have designed, do they have puzzles built into them? Are they decorated with maze-like intricacies? If you have this as a personality trait, could you invoke this with your dungeon master to give you a mechanical bonus to solving a riddle or a puzzle? Should you come across one? That could be another interesting use of it as well. All right, our ideal, so we have 2, 1, 2. Careful lines. A ship must be balanced according to the laws of the universe. If I solve a puzzle, can I get a badge and a pat on the head? Yes, O'Sheeps. Maybe even a gold star. Our bond is number 1. I must visit all the oceans of the world and behold all the ships that sail there. We are a collector. We're a fanatic. And our flaw is number 2. I get frustrated to the point of distraction by shoddy craftsmanship. So you're walking past, as a PC, and you just look at this poor rowboat. It has definitely seen better days. The paint is chipping off, and the two the metal, like the little cradles that hold the oars in the rowboat, they're uneven, and it just, this is really getting to you. You cannot let this go. It is so distracting. Ships make Saltmarsh's economy run. You have contacts with one of the following leaders in town. Ouch. Let's roll. 3. Gellin Prime Water. Now, I don't exactly know. We're only discovering this NPC together, but it does hook you in with an NPC who is important and can vouch for you or give you a line of credit, inform you, cover for you. There's so much stuff here. A smuggler. Now, smuggler is an offshoot of criminal or spy. This smuggler is a background unto itself. On a rickety barge, you carried 100 long swords in fish barrels right past the dockmaster's oblivious lackeys. You have paddled... Oh my gosh, my back is just aching today. I hope I don't have to turn this into a short stream, but we'll see. You have paddled a riverboat filled with stolen elven wine under the gaze of the moon and sold it for twice its value in the morning. In your more charitable times, you have transported innocents out of war zones or helped guide herd animals to safety on the banks of a burning river. Yay, see? So you're not just criminal scum that has to halt. Athletics and deception makes sense for a smuggler. Water vehicles for tool proficiencies, equipment, a fancy leather vest or a pair of leather boots, a set of common clothes, and a leather pouch with 15... It pays to smuggle. Our feature is down low. You are acquainted with a network of smugglers who are willing to help you out of tight situations. While in a particular town, city, or other similarly sized community, DM's discretion, you and your companions can stay for free in safe houses. Safe houses provide a poor lifestyle. While staying at a safe house, you can choose to keep your presence and that of your companions a secret. So it's not the best living conditions, but you are all but guaranteed anonymity. What is your claim to fame? All right, so we're going to do another 46 here. And I might as well roll the 1d8 while I'm at it. All right, our accomplishment is number 3, the recruit. You enlisted in another nation's navy for the purpose of smuggling stolen jewels to a distant port. You attained a minor rank before disappearing from the navy and making your way here. Oh. So we're dipping a little bit into the soldier background, and so we have this rank. Now, depending, we may not be welcome back if we're considered a deserter. But I don't know, if we're considered lost at sea instead, we might be able to tug on a couple heartstrings or standard operating procedure, and we're back in. We just have this nasty habit of continually falling over the rail during a storm. Our personality trait is number 1 from the D8 that I rolled. I love being on the water, but I hate fishing. And you know what? I can understand that. Some people, they get anxious. But you got to remember, if you caught a fish every time you threw your line in, it'd be called catching, not fishing. Our ideal is 2. Smuggler's Code. I uphold the unwritten rules of the smugglers, who do not cheat one another or directly harm innocents. So, look, yes, you're a criminal, but you're lawful. You have a methodology. You have an understood system for acting. And other people can hold you to it or, take your measure by it. 3 is our smuggler bond. I owe a debt that cannot be repaid in gold. So in this sample character, if it can't be repaid in gold, are we talking a life for a life? Are we talking, it's not a simple monetary transaction, but, I would require a super rare item? Oh, things to think about. Character building. That's why we're here, right? And lastly, our flaw is number 4. I struggle to trust the words of others. That doesn't mean he's antisocial. It just simply means that he puts trust in himself and those who follow the code, but not necessarily the things that those people say. Last time I went fishing, says O'Sheeps, the only fish I had caught all day got snatched by an eagle. Now I have a grudge against all eagles for the rest of my life. The first half is true. Very interesting. Did the eagle at least avoid taking the hook and the line with it? Did you at least get that back so it wasn't, a bird eating that stuff? Saltmarsh ties. It's an open secret, at least among the old-timers in town, that Gellin Primewater, there's that NPC, runs the biggest smuggling operation in this section of the coast. You have contacts with him and his organization, enabling you to request an audience with him as necessary. Had my pole but snapped the line. It almost took my fishing pole with it too. It was a bald eagle. Oh my goodness. Well, hopefully it was able to, I mean, not that I'm not putting blame on you for that, because, I mean, no one could have predicted that. And I'm sure you would have liked to have maintained your line and your tackle and all that. That's why I keep the local wildlife shelter on speed dial. In fact, that came in handy recently. Saved a Canadian goose with a broken wing because of that. Let alone a seagull that... just barely. You see it right there? That little red mark by the corner of my... Whoop. It still wants to focus on my face. The little red mark by the corner of my thumbnail is still that seagull bite. Yeah, that's... No, that's fine, oh sheeps. As a soldier... Alright, now let's return back. So, you know, I'll have this up. Soldiers on page 140 if you wanna keep up here. Let's continue. Smuggler and soldier. Many retired soldiers of the Chaotish army make their home in southern reaches, and you are no different. You might have served some time as a member of the town guard. Regardless of whether you did so, you have several friends among their ranks. The captain of the guard, Eleander Fireborn, is friendly toward fellow veterans and is willing to make time to meet with you if the need is urgent. At your option, you can also own a small plot of land and a farm outside of town. Oh, see? That is investment. And, hey, you're getting paid back for your service, which is nice. So you still keep your military rank. You very well could have been a quartermaster. But you're getting this extra little layer of Saltmarsh with this background, this otherwise generic background. Then lastly, the Poor Urchin. At a young age, you lost one or both of your parents to a tragedy at sea. Afterward, you grow up relying on the kindness of others. More importantly, the years you spent living on the streets have imparted to you the skill to sneak unobtrusively, overhearing gossip and witnessing scenes that others would prefer to keep secret. Pick one member of the Saltmarsh Town Council. The DM will share with you either a secret about that person or give you the option to create the details of a favor you did for them that leaves them in your debt. For instance, you might have overheard thieves making plans to steal from Gelen Primewater. Oh, I love that. Just immediate immersion and investment into the game here. All right, so everyone, I'm gonna have to get up and take a stretch break. I definitely got to do a couple little shimmies and bends, and we'll see how I'm feeling when I come back in a couple minutes. I may have to call the stream early tonight after going over the backgrounds, because if I'm aching and a sore puppy, it is gonna not make for a very good broadcast. But we'll see. Just give me a couple minutes, because worst case, I'll still come back and we'll talk a little bit, and we'll go raid. But we'll see if I can, you know, kind of work out a couple things, make my spine sound like a transformer transforming for a little bit, and we'll go from there. So, yep, we will BRB LOL AFK.